How are you guys doing tonight? Yeah? Well, welcome to A Tale as Old as Time. We've been really looking forward to tonight. There's been a lot of work that's gone into it. Like you said, a lot of teams, a lot of people here putting this event together, so it doesn't happen with just me. There's a lot of people putting it on, but we've just been really excited. How awesome was it in worship to get a preview of like 3 different songs? Was that great? Yeah? You guys were like the first ones to hear the new versions of the songs that they're going to have on the album, and then we get a brand new song at the end of worship that Melissa led, and that was really awesome. So you all look beautiful tonight, and I've got to see some of your dresses up close, but I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of you guys a little bit later on tonight. Sorry, this feels like off-center, so I'm just going to move it a little bit. But yeah, so I just think it's fun to be a girl sometimes and get dressed up. And I was going to wear like my fancy dress up here, but I was worried I was going to trip over it, so I decided to put on something a little more like Belle to be up here. But I do really love to get dressed up. And sometimes I like to get dressed up just to go out to dinner and for fun. But my husband, on the other hand, he is like really hard person to get to dress up. Like even for our anniversary or my birthday or Christmas, he would much rather just like throw on a baseball hat and some jeans and call it good. And I'm totally about that. Like I love going outside camping, like you heard a couple weeks ago. A little too much information there, but I also like to be really girly and get dressed up and hang out with the girls. Another thing to know about me is how I like to watch movies, since we're talking about Beauty and the Beast tonight, is I am like a person who when I sit down and watch a movie, I have this like routine, and I like to dim the lights, I like to get all cuddled up in a blanket, have my little munchies next to me, and then I zone in. And I'm not like the kind of person who likes to talk throughout the movie. I had a roommate in college, I love her to death, but she was the kind of person who asked questions nonstop throughout the movie. So she'd be like, Sid, oh my gosh, why are they going in there? They know someone bad's in there, what are they doing? And I'm like, I don't know, but you just totally took me out of the moment I was having with this film. I was feeling what they were feeling, and now I have to turn and answer your question. So I like to just zone in and be a part of the scene. I like to pick what character I'm going to be right off the bat, so usually it's like the main character, like Belle, and then I just get in their head, and I'm that person. I feel what they feel, and I think what they think, and I like to just be in the scene.
Little town, it's a quiet village. Every day, like the one before. Little town, full of little people, waking up to say
Bonjour! Bonjour!
Bonjour! Bonjour!
Bonjour!
And she knows a girl who's strange but special, a most peculiar mademoiselle. It's a pity and a sin, she doesn't quite fit him, but she really is a funny girl, a beauty but a funny girl. She really is a funny girl.
Bonjour!
Give them all a hand. That was just our little fun way to get into the night. I love to like feel like I'm in the movie and to be a part of the scene, and I wish that sometimes we could just jump in and be a cartoon for a second. But I thought it'd be fun to talk through a couple things, a couple facts that you might not have ever even known watching Beauty and the Beast. So the first thing is that Mrs. Potts, she was actually originally supposed to be named Mrs. Chamomile, but no one could pronounce chamomile, which is a type of tea, so all the voice actors kept getting it messed up, so they just decided to shorten it to Mrs. Potts, which is a little bit easier to say. And then you have Chip, the little tiny teacup, and he became the cute character of the scene, but he was actually supposed to just be a small role in Beauty and the Beast, but they loved the actor's voice so much that they expanded the role, because the role that Chip actually plays was supposed to be a tiny little music box, but they loved the voice so much that they decided to keep him in a bigger role. And then you have, again with Mrs. Potts, the voice actress for Mrs. Potts. She sings the ending song, if you know Beauty and the Beast, like A Tale as Old as Time, the classic song. Well, she didn't feel like her voice was fit for that song. She felt like it was a little too shaky. She didn't feel like she nailed it. So she's like, I'll just do one take for you guys, just as backup if you need it for promo or something, but I'd really like you to find someone else. So that's the take that ended up in the movie. So it was in one take. They took that and it ended up in the film, and just by watching We Are One Band, like up in the studio, there's like a lot that goes into recording one song. So it's pretty crazy that they just used that in one take. Then also, I thought this was interesting, but you'll see like throughout the castle that the beast lives in, you'll see all these sculptures and gargoyles and paintings even of these weird like creatures. Well, these were actually some of the original concepts the beast was supposed to look like. So when they were drawing out what the beast was going to be like, they're like, oh, I don't like that one, let's put it as something else. So those were the original concepts of what the beast was going to look like, and it took quite a while to come up with who he was going to be. And then Belle, she was the second Disney princess next to Cinderella to not come from royal descent. So she didn't come from this royal family. She kind of made her way into a castle eventually, but she wasn't born into a royal family. She also was the only character in the movie in her town who wore the color blue. So if you watch throughout, you'll see all these characters in like greens and reds and tans and different stuff, but she specifically wore blue to stand out, to show that she was different from the rest of her town. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I was like, I wonder if there's anything special about the color blue, like why they choose blue and not purple or pink or yellow or any other color. And I found some cool stuff about blue. So blue is actually a color that symbolizes loyalty and strength, wisdom, and trust. It also radiates security and is a reliable and responsible color. Does anyone in here have favorite color blue? Yeah, a lot of people. I'm actually more of a yellow person, but tonight I like blue, so I'll be with all of you guys. But even if your favorite color isn't blue, my heart for you guys tonight is that you would be women who exude what blue represents, which is loyalty, strength, wisdom, and trust. And that you would be responsible young women who radiate who Jesus Christ is, and you become secure in him. Proverbs 31:5 says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity. She laughs without fear of the future." She's clothed with strength and dignity, which are part of the color blue. And I hope that just as Belle was set apart from her town, that you too would find your own way to be set apart in your unique ways and just be confident in who you are in Christ. So before we get into tonight, I just want to pray and ask that God speaks through me, calm some nerves, and then we'll get into a fun night together. Lord, I just thank you so much that we can be in your house, Lord, that we can be all together, dressed up, having fun, and we also get to come together to hear your word. And I just pray right now, Lord, that you would just soften our hearts, Lord, that we would just be ready to receive whatever word you have for us, Lord, that you would use me as a tool to speak through, Lord, and I yield my voice to you. So we just pray all this in your name. We love you so much. Amen. The title of my message tonight is Curse the Curse.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Although he had everything his heart desired, the prince was spoiled, selfish, and unkind. But then, one winter's night, an old beggar woman came to the castle and offered him a single rose in return for shelter from the bitter cold. Repulsed by her haggard appearance, the prince sneered at the gift and turned the old woman away. But she warned him not to be deceived by appearances, for beauty is found within. And when he dismissed her again, the old woman's ugliness melted away to reveal a beautiful enchantress. The prince tried to apologize, but it was too late, for she had seen that there was no love in his heart. And as punishment, she transformed him into a hideous beast and placed a powerful spell on the castle and all who lived there. Ashamed of his monstrous form, the beast concealed himself inside his castle with a magic mirror as his only window to the outside world. The rose she had offered was truly an enchanted rose, which would bloom until his 21st year. If he could learn to love another and earn her love in return by the time the last petal fell, then the spell would be broken. If not, he would be doomed to remain a beast for all time. As the years passed, he fell into despair and lost all hope. For who could ever learn to love a beast?
Now, if you've seen that movie, then you're very familiar with that narrator's voice in the beginning of the movie, and you're familiar with Belle's big yellow dress at the end of the movie, and Mrs. Potts, and the little teacup, and all the little characters that go along with it. But sometimes when we think of Beauty and the Beast, we just kind of look past the curse, and we don't really think too deep about it. We just get caught up in the love story and the romance and everything else that goes along with it, but we forget the curse. The curse that took over that spoiled, selfish, and unkind young man who had no love in his heart. When I was really looking at the curse, it kind of reminds me of the curse that I see upon our generation. The curse that's been upon families and marriages and individuals in so many different ways. Upon self-image, like identity, people don't even know who they are anymore in our generation. They question, am I this or am I that? Who am I supposed to be deep down? Like, the devil has twisted so much what it means to be a woman of God in this generation. In the midst of this love story, in the midst of this curse, there's two people who are most affected by the curse. And that's obviously Beauty, or Belle, who's the breaker of the curse, and the Beast, the one who is cursed. They're two extremely different characters. You look at the Beast, and he's kind of like a hot mess. Like, he looks mangy, he's really angry, he's very temperamental, and he's stubborn as all get out. And then you take in all of his appearance, and you're like, whoa, that's a lot to take in. Well, the Beast is actually made up of like 6 different animals, if you didn't know that. He has the mane of a lion, the head of a buffalo, the brow of a gorilla, the tusks of a wild boar, the legs and the tails of a wolf, and the body of a bear. So that just sounds like a hot mess to me. Like, they're just like, oh, none of those sculptures work. We'll use this and we'll use that, and then we have the Beast. He's kind of scary. So I was trying to compare him to a character in the Bible, and I'm like, who in the world do I compare this guy to? Who is he like? And I found King Nebuchadnezzar, who was turned into a wild beast, and then I found the mark of the beast, and I was like, oh, I don't know, appearance-wise, who's the beast? And all I could find was Esau, which, if you guys don't know who Esau is, he just had a brother named Jacob, and he was the hairier of the two of them. So I guess if you were to compare the beast to a biblical character, maybe Esau, just because he's hairy. With Belle, she's a little bit easier to take in. She's beautiful, she's kind, she's smart, she loves to read, she knows who she is, and she's not afraid to do her own thing. Everyone in town is drooling over Gaston, and they want his attention, they want to be with him, but she would rather have time to herself. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She's not really about this guy. While all the other girls are running and chasing after him because they think he's the best thing ever. Everyone in the town even thinks that she's odd and a little bit crazy, but she doesn't even notice because she doesn't have time to let other people's opinions affect or ruin her day. And then you look at her name. Her name Belle in French actually means beautiful, which is where they got Beauty and Beauty and the Beast. And then if you look at the Hebrew form of Belle, Belle would actually be the word Bella, which means devoted to God. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I know that Beauty and the Beast wasn't written around the Bible or anything, but when you start to dig in, you see traits of Belle sprinkled throughout the word. It's all these different people are compiled to make up who Belle is. Belle had the faith and the obedience of Sarah. Sarah was the wife of Abraham, and she really wanted to have a baby, but she couldn't. She was got to be 90 years old, and she still didn't have a baby. But she felt like the Lord spoke to her and said, you're going to have a child. And she's like, what? I'm 90 years old. How am I going to have a child? How can I raise a child in this day? But she was like, okay, whatever you say, I trust you. And she had the faith to believe that at 90 years old, that she was going to have a baby because she knew who had spoken to her. Hebrews 11:11 says, and by faith, even Even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was unable to bear children because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. She knew that the God who spoke to her was a faithful God and that he wasn't going to go back on his promise. While she believed in this promise, Sarah had to leave her comfortable and her familiar surroundings to start a whole new journey with God. Belle had a very similar experience when she ended up in this castle, which is an unfamiliar, uncomfortable place, and she was going to spend the rest of her life there. She didn't know if she was going to be tortured or beaten or hurt by this beast. She just followed the beast's order. And the order was that if the dad is going to be set free, then you're going to live here the rest of your life. So she just went for it, and she said, well, that's worth it to me. Belle also had the devotion and the gentleness of Ruth. Ruth was a young woman who lost her husband at a very young age, and she also lost her father-in-law at the exact same time. Now, at this time, she lost her husband. She's with her mother-in-law. She could have gone back to her homeland and started a whole new life, got her feet back on track, and just moved on with things. But instead, she decided to stick around with Naomi, her mother-in-law, because she felt like that was what she was prompted to do. And Naomi kept telling her, no, go, you're young, go remarry, go back home, start a new life. And this is what Ruth replied. She said, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. She was so young, and she had every opportunity to restart her life, to head home, to remarry, to start a new life. But instead, she trusted and she stayed devoted to Naomi because that's what she felt like the Lord would have for her. And as a result, Ruth ended up marrying a man named Boaz, and she later became the great-grandmother of David, which made her an ancestor in the line of Jesus, which is just crazy to me, because if Ruth would have done what she really wanted, she probably would have gone back home. It would have been way easier to just restart life, marry someone else, and just go on with things. But she stayed faithful to what God was speaking to her, to stay by Naomi's side, and she ended up marrying Boaz, which led her to be in the line of Jesus Christ. That's just really crazy. God had so much bigger plans for her than she had realized. In the end, Belle's devotion to the beast also had so much greater purpose than what she could see. She didn't know that when she took her father's place that she was going to be used for something so much greater in the end. She just gave herself up because she felt like that's what she was supposed to do, and she ended up being used for something huge. Belle also had the boldness and the bravery of Esther. Esther was kind of this warrior woman who risked her life on behalf of her people by attempting to see the king without him requesting her presence. This was like punishable by law. Esther could have been beaten, she could have been thrown in jail, she could have been killed because she didn't even ask permission before she went before the king. She just like, well, I'm going to go because this is for my people, and this is what I need to do. And she just went with her bold little self, and she walked right up to the king. She said, when this is done, I will go to the king, even though it's against the law. And if I perish, I perish. What she was saying was, if I die, I die. She could have been killed. But because of her courage, an entire nation was saved. The Lord had prepared her for such a time so that when the opportunity came, she was ready to just jump in and be used of him. I'm sure at first Esther was intimidated by the thought of going up to the king because I'm sure there were people who had gone before and not the greatest things probably happened to them. I'm sure they just were like, I'm just going to go before the king, and they might have been killed. So I'm sure that's a scary thought. And Belle was the same way. I'm sure she was intimidated by the beast's temper and not knowing exactly what her fate would be. Not to mention that in the same day, Belle lost her freedom and she lost her father. That's scary. Like, if you take that in, she's all alone. She's trapped in this castle that she knows no one. She doesn't know what's going to come of her life, and she lost the only person that she was close to. In this moment, she had to have so much trust that there was greater purpose in the choice that she had made. She had to believe that there was something bigger than herself, something bigger than that decision that she had made. And while her bravery got her very far, I think that Belle's greatest quality was that of sacrifice. At the beginning of the movie, you'll get a chance to watch it tonight if you need a refresher, but Belle's dad takes off to go to this inventor's fair, and he gets his horse all ready, he puts his invention on the cart, and he's all excited to take off to this inventor's fair. He heads off down the trail, and he ends up lost in the woods, getting attacked and chased by these wolves. The wolves scare the horse takes off, and the only thing that looks like freedom to him is this huge gate that he's running towards. So he runs to the gate, slams it shut, and he gets saved from the wolves. Well, now he's behind the gate, and his only option is to walk into this scary castle. Like, that's the only way he's going to get help, because he has no idea where he is in order to get back home. So long story short, the horse makes its way back to town, and Belle immediately realizes that her dad's in trouble. So she takes off on her horse, and she finds her dad in the dungeon of the castle and has her first encounter with the beast.
Hello? Is someone here? Wait, I'm looking for my father. That's funny. I'm sure there was someone. Is anyone here?
Bill?
Papa!
How did you find me?
Oh, your hands are like ice. I have to get you out of there.
Bill, I want you to leave this place.
Who's done this to you?
No time to explain. You must go, now.
I won't leave you.
What are you doing here?
Who's there? Who are you?
The master of this castle.
I've come for my father. Please, let him out. Can't you see he's sick?
And he shouldn't have trespassed here.
But he could die. Please, I'll do anything.
There's nothing you can do. He's my prisoner.
Oh, there must be some way I can... Wait! Take me instead.
You would take his place?
Bill, no! You don't know what you're doing!
If I did, would you let him go?
Yes. But you must promise to stay here forever.
Come into the light.
No, Bill! I won't let you do this!
You have my word.
Done!
Belle had Hannah's heart of sacrifice. Hannah was a woman in the Bible who was also unable to have children, and that was like what she felt like her purpose was. It was really hard for her after years and years of trying to not be able to have kids, and she finally was so desperate that she prayed and she said, Lord, if you just give me a child, I'll give him to you for the rest of the days of his life. I just want a child so bad that I'll give him right back to you if you just bless me with that. So the Lord heard her heart, and he answered her heart's desire. And 1 Samuel 1 says, I prayed for this child, and the Lord granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord. For his whole life he will be given over to the Lord. Hannah sacrificed her son to the Lord, and she gave up the child that her heart longed for so that she could be in God's will, and so that that child could be in the center of what God had for him. Just like Hannah, Belle had to give up one who she loved dearly. She stood in his place, and she didn't even think twice about it. She was like, wait, I have an idea. Take me instead. Let my old dad go. I'll spend so many more years in here than he probably would, because he was probably closer to the end of his life. There's going to be times in our lives where we have to give up things that we've waited a long time for, that we've prayed and prayed and prayed for, and they seem really, really important to us. But sometimes it takes sacrificing those things to get to the true place that God was trying to lead us anyways. What I thought was moving about this scene was that how concerned Belle was for her dad. There's just this look of fear on her face. And on a completely different level, this kind of reminds me of a time that I was kayaking with Pastor Dave for my birthday. And we were up in Port Austin. We took our own kayaks. We were unloading them. We were about to get into the water. And in comes this man, probably in his 30s, a little bit bigger man, panting and paddling in with this look of fear on his face. And he was so scared. As the minute he hit land, he just dropped to his knees. And he was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm here. So he pulled up his kayak. He ripped his life jacket off. And we're literally this far away from him. We're like, hey, man, what's your name? And he's like, I'm George. It's scary out there. And we're like, yeah, did you make it all the way to Turnip Rock, or did you turn around? And he's like, yeah, but I don't know if I'd go out there if I would go out there if I were you guys, because it's getting pretty choppy and it's rough and people are flipping over and stuff. And we're like, oh, really? It doesn't look that bad to us. And he's like, well, I was one of the people that flipped over, and I had to figure out how to get my own kayak over because no one's with me. And he looks at our kayaks and he realizes that we don't have life jackets, and he's like, what? You guys don't have life jackets? And we're like, no, we were just planning on staying above the water the entire time. And he's like, you got to take mine. You got to take my life jacket right now. And we're like, well, we don't need to take yours. We don't want to take your life jacket. And he's like, nope, take this right now. Put it on your kayak, and if you need it, you'll have it, and it'll save your life. And we're like, well, where do we take it when we get back? How are we going to get in touch with you? Is this did you rent this from the place right up there? And he's like, no, that's mine. That's my own life jacket, but I don't even care if I get it back. I don't care because it's going to save your life, and you just need to have it. And we're like, okay, George. So we strapped it on our kayaks, and we made it alive. We never even flipped over, but he was very concerned for our life. It was just funny looking at his face with such fear for strangers. But I think a face of fear that I've seen that was even worse than that was Mama Tammy's face. Just a week before, when we went out kayaking with me and Mama Tammy and Janelle and Kaylee, because we were getting ready to just hang out before Janelle took off for Tanzania, and we're like, hey, let's go kayaking. So we loaded up the kayaks, took them down to my grandma's house, and we get all the kayaks in the water, and this huge storm rolled in. Not even just one dark storm cloud, it was a wall of black. And we're like, okay, well, the kayak's are already in the water, so let's go. And we took off, and Miss Tammy the whole time was like, I don't know, guys. I don't know if this is a good idea. We could go back, and we could just wait it out. And we're like, I think we can go for a little while, and it might not even rain. We don't know. Meanwhile, there's thunder and a little bit of lightning, and she's like, guys, I just don't know about this. And I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to go back, so we can probably make it to that bridge. It's 10 minutes, but we can hide under there if it starts to rain. And the minute I said that, it was literal downpour, the hardest rain I have ever felt when I was outside, pelting us in the face. And Kaylee and I both have contacts in, and if you ever had a pair of contacts in and you get them wet, it's very hard to see. So Kaylee rips out her contacts, and she's trying to control her kayak. I can't rip mine out because I would be completely blind. So I put my sunglasses down, but when you have sunglasses on and a whole wall of black, you can't really see anything anyways, but at least I was protecting my eyeballs from those huge raindrops. So we're looking around, we're all spread across the lake, and we're the only ones out there. Everyone else was smart enough when they saw that big black wall, they took cover. But we were like, meh, we got this, let's do it. So Kaylee's spinning around her kayak, trying to figure out which way's right and which way's left. Janelle's over there. I see another kayak, upside down, and Mama Tammy bobbing in the water, just up and down, trying to catch her breath. And I was like, what is going on? And Kaylee's the closest one to me, so I'm just like, what do we do? And she's like, I don't know. I have no idea. And so then I look back, and the kayak is floating off by itself, and Mama Tammy had grabbed onto Janelle's kayak at this point. So I'm like, well, I got to go save the kayak. So I went after the kayak, and I don't know how I'm going to control my kayak in that kayak, but it was about to be done. I look back as we're trying to make our way to shore, and now Mama Tammy is in Janelle's kayak. I have no idea how she got herself in there because that's a hard thing to do. So we make our way all the way to the shore. We get to this house. We pull our kayaks up, and I run up the steps, and I'm like, knock on the door. They're filming us with their iPad. Grandma's on the iPad, just like, hey, FaceTiming Grandma, showing these crazy kayakers who stayed out in that storm. And I was like, I'm really sorry that we're on your property right now, but we just needed to take some cover, and you were the closest land. And they're like, yeah, come on in our basement. We'll get you some towels, and you can dry off. So we go down there. I tell everybody, just come inside. They said it's fine. We go down there. We're all laughing about what just happened, that we lived through that entire thing. I'm trying to ask Miss Tammy how she ended up in the kayak, and she's like, it only took one flash of lightning. And I was like, I'm not about to be in that water with that lightning. So she just popped right into that kayak. And we're standing there probably for like 10 minutes just talking, and Miss Tammy goes, so whose house are we in again? Because I have family around the lake. She thought maybe my grandma's friend, my aunt and uncle, and I was like, we don't know these people. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, this is we're in a stranger's basement right now. And she's like, are you serious? I thought this whole time you knew who these people were. And I was like, nope, but they're nice. And then this guy walked around the corner, had no idea that we were even in his basement. And we're like, hey. And he's like, oh, I didn't know there were people down here. And we're like, yeah, hi, thanks for letting us dry off. But anyways, it all cleared up and ended up being a great day. It passed in like 20 minutes. So I thought that it was a great story to tell because we lived through it, and that's just adventurous and fun to me. But if you ask Miss Tammy, I'm sure she would have a completely different perspective than I did, because all she could see was that big storm right in front of her face. And you know what? In life, there's going to be storms, and you're going to have to figure out, am I heading into it, or is it smarter to turn around and just get to land? Because in the middle of a storm, the devil would like nothing more to destroy you, to throw you off that kayak, and to ruin your life with that curse. Without Jesus, we're all cursed. Since the fall of man, when Eve took a bite out of that apple, the word says that our payment for sin is death. So if you've ever lied, if you've ever been angry, if you've ever cheated on a test, you can name anything. If you've sinned, we're deserving of death. That's what the word says. Without Jesus, our curse is eternity apart from him, eternity in hell. Maybe right now, you're experiencing the effects of a curse. Maybe your curse is divorce. Maybe there's been divorce in your home, and now you're going between two families, and you're like, I'm with mom, and she has no rules, and I'm with dad, and he's super strict. I don't know what I believe. Mom loves Jesus. Dad doesn't love Jesus. Who am I? Maybe that's your curse. Maybe marriage after marriage after marriage in your family has gone through divorce. Maybe it's bullying. Maybe since the time you were young, you've just been picked on, and people haven't accepted who you are, and you've let them feed into you, and now you believe those things about yourself. Maybe there's a curse of sickness upon your life or upon your family. I look at my husband's family and the curse of neuropathy that's been upon them. Pastor Dave and Pastor Steve and Miss Tammy and her mom and Miss Tammy's sister, they all have neuropathy, which means that they don't really have feeling in their feet. It's just been passed down from generation to generation. But what I think is really interesting about that is that pretty much every person that it's been passed down to are the people following the Lord. There's people that it skipped over that's in that family who aren't serving Jesus, and they can feel everything. When they step on hot sand, they can feel it. When a needle goes through their foot, they can feel it. But all the people who are serving Jesus are the ones who have been affected by this curse. Maybe it's a curse of laziness. Maybe your family is just a bunch of people who are just content with life. They've never really pursued school or a degree or really done much with their life. Maybe you're somehow stuck with that and you're like, I don't know if college is for me. I'm good with this for the rest of my life. Maybe that's caused you to not really pursue the things that God has for you because you've just become content. It could be examples of bad relationships that have gone on in your family, and that's been the only example that you've had. So now you're finding yourself in those exact same kinds of relationships. That's a curse as well. Whatever it is, in the midst of our curse, we have the power to either live a life that blesses or a life that curses. When the storm's brewing, when everything looks scary all around us, when those rose petals are falling off that rose, we panic and we start to get anxious. We get all worried that the curse is strengthening and it's getting stronger and time's running out. But what we don't realize is that a breakthrough is on the horizon. So what do you do when you're in the midst of a curse? Because we don't always know exactly when that breakthrough is coming. You can either curse God, bless God, or you can curse God. If you curse God, you go against everything the Word says we're supposed to do in the midst of trials. You curse God when you turn your back on His ways and when you don't follow the voice of wisdom. When you try to take control of your storm instead of, storm, let there be a storm. When you try to take control of your storm instead of waiting for God to bring peace and a calmness about the waters. Instead, the Word says that we should praise Him when we're in the valleys, when we're in the low places of our life, and when we're on the top of the mountain and life is good, everything's going well. The Word says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul. All that is within me, bless His holy name." When you bless the Lord, you're saying, whatever my circumstance, Jesus, you deserve the praise. Whatever my storm, whatever scary that I'm going through, I bless you because you're good. And this curse, this storm cannot coexist with who you are. When you bless the Lord, you curse the curse. When we watch a movie, like I was talking about at the beginning, we always want to be that girl. We want to be the princess. We want to be the one who finds true love, the one who goes on all of the adventures. We want to be Belle. And as much as I look at all of you in the room tonight and see your beautiful faces full of excitement for the Lord, excitement to just take in the word and the message, passion for Jesus, listening to you just sing and worship, I see all of that in you. But if I can just be real, I think a lot of times we can more quickly identify with the beast than we can with Belle. Sometimes we say things that just don't line up with who Belle is, who the Word says we should be. The lies and the gossip, the pride, the stubbornness. Like some of you in this room have got a beastly stubbornness, let me tell you. And I've been that person as well. We can be stubborn girls. The things that you post on social media, subtweeting, getting all your feelings out, that's pretty beastly, guys. How we treat our parents, not listening, not obeying, not following wisdom, thinking that we know more than they do. They've lived life longer than we have. They know a little bit. What we think in our minds about other people. Like sometimes it doesn't even have to be verbalized. There might have been some of you thinking tonight when someone walked in like, I cannot believe she's wearing that dress. Why? Wow. Or maybe it's other nights when you're like, why is she talking to that boy? I used to talk to that boy. I don't even like him anymore, but she cannot talk to that boy. Like, you just have these conversations in your head, am I right? Like, you talk to yourself, that is wrong. That's beastly. When we don't attack these weaknesses in our life, we allow the curse to strengthen. And before we know it, we're lost in a dark castle, all alone. And we start to accept that this is just going to be our life forever. We accept that this curse is always going to be upon our life. If you go back and watch the movie, or even in that scene that we just saw with Belle and the beast, you notice that the minute the beast is about to give up, here comes Belle. And something in him begins to change. Something in him softens. There's moments when the beast is looking into Belle's eyes, and he sees that she sacrifices herself right away without thinking. And he's like, you would do that? What? As each of us are here tonight, in the midst of our curses, right when we're about to give up, here comes Jesus. And if you've watched any Disney movie, you know that there's only one thing that ever breaks the curse. And it's the same thing in every movie: love. The love inside of Belle stirred hope inside of the beast. His eyes softened. His face dropped when he realized that he never let her say goodbye to her dad. Later on, he goes to save Belle from the wolves, which is something that a beast with no love in his heart would have ever thought twice about. He would have just let her, it's a problem that he didn't need anymore, just let her get attacked by the wolves. But he went back for her. He was experiencing hope that the curse could be broken and that he could learn to love again. Tonight, we're all in need of a curse-breaking love. There's a scripture in the book of Deuteronomy that says, "Cursed is any man hung on a tree." This scripture is actually a prophecy that Jesus would one day be hung on a tree or hung on a cross, which was made from the tree. It all means the same thing. But when he did so, he would be cursed. And he didn't hang upon that cross because he did anything wrong. He hung on the cross as a payment for our curse. Jesus took our curse of death upon himself so that our curse would become his curse. He traded our curse for his love. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For who could ever learn to love a beast? God loves the beast. But he never had to learn how to do so. God is love. It's who he is. He loves you just because you're there, because you're in existence. He loved you before you were born, before anyone spoke your name. When God takes our curse, in the split second, we turn from a beast to Belle, from a beast to a beauty, and that's when we take on the true purpose that God had for us all along. Belle's role in that entire movie was to be someone who would break the curse. And she couldn't have done that unless she had the character that she did. It's through her character that she'd be able to become one who was fit to break the curse. It takes a Belle-like character from God to be able to curse the curse. It takes being a woman of faith and a woman of his word. God wants to give us courage like Esther, to go before the king and before her people and to have the faith and the courage to move an entire nation for the Lord. He wants us to be like Rahab, an enemy of Israel who protected God's spies when they entered the walls of Jericho. And like Moses' wife Zipporah, who stood behind her husband as he delivered God's people from the curse of slavery. He wants us to be like Mary, who birthed Jesus, the love that broke the curse of sin. I believe that God has set each of you up to play a significant role in this generation, and that's to break the curse. How do you do it? How do you become breakers of the curse? How do you step into this call, and how do you curse the curse? Number one, you have to exchange your curse for his love. The first step in cursing the curse is simply to just receive who he is and to receive his love. That's all he asks. He doesn't ask for us to come perfect, presenting ourselves as Belle. He wants us to come as the beast, just as we are. And he gives us his love. And all it takes is us saying, Lord, I'm imperfect, but I believe that you're a God who's faithful and a God who's good, and I believe you are who you say you are. And there's his love. Easy access. He's not trying to keep it from you. And it's not just for our salvation. It's not just so that we'll spend eternity with him, but God has a love for you right now that you need to encounter for your specific curse. Number two, you need to ask yourself, how much am I willing to sacrifice in order to see someone else's curse be broken? How far am I willing to go to see this love enter someone else's life? We have to receive his love, and then we have to give his love. And we have to be able to recognize the curse in someone else's life. We have to be able to see in their eyes the hope that is lost, the brokenness, the thing that is holding them and is consuming them, is feeding lies to them. We have to be able to recognize that and then exercise that sacrificial love in their circumstance so that they too can have a breakthrough. But what does that really look like practically? Like, how do we step in and break someone else's curse? You can give up your time. You can say, God, I'm willing to be inconvenienced by you. I was talking with someone the other day, and they went in a store to run an errand for me, and they heard this lady, overheard them in a conversation that was just like, oh, I'm having a rough day. And that person stopped in their tracks and was like, I know that you want to use me right now, God, but I just don't have time. But I'll do it. So they went and they prayed with that person. That person was so encouraged that they would take the time to stop because they heard a need. And I was like, wow, that's awesome that you'd sacrifice your time trying to fit everything in one day so that you could pray with them. You can give up your plans. As girls, we're into planning things. We like to have something going every day of the week. But you can give up those plans to go and serve someone who needs the help. Maybe you're thinking of someone right now. You're like, oh, I should have just gone and helped them instead of hung out with my friends at the beach. You can give financially to someone in need. You can sacrifice your reputation. I don't really think it's a sacrifice, but you put your reputation on the line when you take a minute to explain the love of Jesus to someone. That takes a lot of guts, especially for those of you in school and those of you in college. It's on a different level, but to stop and explain the love of Christ, the love that you know in your heart, that takes some guts. That takes some bravery and some courage, some faith and some obedience. And I think some of you tonight need to really consider those two things that I just talked about, exchanging your curse for his love, and really asking yourself, how much am I willing to sacrifice? How much am I willing to give up? So in a second, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to come forward, and we're just going to spend a time with the Lord at the altar. And each of you, it's going to look different. Maybe there's a heavy curse upon your family that you just need breakthrough. I see some of you in the room that I know exactly what you're going to come forward and pray for, because it's been heavy, and it's been passed down throughout your family, and it's not fun, and you need the Lord to intervene. For others of you, it might be an emotional curse. It might be something that you need breakthrough personally. For some of you, might just need to come down and ask, Lord, what's been heavy on my life? What's been distracting me and keeping me from stepping forward into what you have for me? And for some of you, it's just going to be, Lord, I give my heart to you. And I want to be yours. I don't want to be the beastly person that I am. I want to be Belle, and I want to be used to you. And it's not because I want to be beautiful on the outside. It's just because I want to see people come to your kingdom. But I don't really know what that looks like. Talk to God. Ask him questions. The leaders are going to be here to pray over you and to talk with you. But I just want to pray first and have you come forward, and we'll spend some time here. Dear Lord, we just thank you for who you are. We thank you that you're so good and that you care for us, Lord, even when we're not perfect. Lord, even when we still see areas in ourselves that we want to perfect and that we want to grow in, Lord. We thank you that you have vision for our life, Lord, that you have a specific calling for each girl in this room, Lord, and you're just waiting. You're excited to tell her, Lord. You're excited to speak life into her. And I pray that just as you restored hope in the beast, Lord, tonight that they would have hope restored in the promise and the purpose that you have for them. So as they come tonight, Lord, I just pray that you would work in each one, Lord, that you'd speak to them and that they would know your love. I pray all this in your name. Amen.